Hello everyone, welcome back to Sportsbook Review's coverage of La Liga Primera. Fascinating season unfolding in Spain. Real Madrid top of the table, 5 wins and a draw from 6 matches thus far. But the likes of Atletico Madrid and Real Sociedad are hot on their heels. Table's looking really interesting. We've got some great games to break down for you today. Delighted to be joined by Ruri Barlow from La Liga Lowdown. They're the experts on all things La Liga, so he'll be able to give us some insight into the teams and some player news and stuff like that. And we've got Junior Browne, who's been doing great in La Liga so far. Nice bit of profit. I've surged into profit in La Liga as well. A princely 0.46 units of profit, but I will take it, and let's hope we can maintain the momentum in the weeks ahead. Give us a like if you enjoy what you hear from us today. Can see that a couple of you have already given us a thumbs up, so let's ramp those numbers up over the course of the show. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell. And when you're done listening to us, head on over to sportsbookreview.com. You will be able to read some articles with picks and analysis from our pro handicappers. You can compare odds to find the best lines on every single game. You can read sportsbook reviews. There's sports betting calculators. There's industry news. There's a lively forum. All sorts going on over there. So do head on over to Sportsbook Review after this. Hola Barca man. Hello Suresh. Hi to everyone in the chat. Right, let's go. We're going to start with Alaves, who are having a shocking season, up against Atletico Madrid, who are having another very good season once again. Alaves still winless, 5 matches. They've only scored once, conceded 11. Things aren't looking great for them. Personally, don't give them much chance against a strong, in-form Atletico Madrid side, Rory. What do you see for this one?
Yeah, if Atleti are sufrir y ganar, to suffer and to win, then Alaves are sufrir y perder, which is just suffering and losing. And I actually did feel pretty bad for Fernando Pacheco, who was the Alaves goalkeeper, and he did the post-match presser after their defeat against Espanyol, and he just looked so pained in his expression. It was a sort of, yeah, we have to keep on working, we have to keep going, and things will come up for us. But he really didn't seem very confident, and I don't think they've been altogether terrible so far this season, but it's hard to look beyond Atleti in this match, because they managed to pull out results against most people, and if things aren't going right for you, then it's really tricky to see where Alaves can take an advantage here.
Yeah, this is not an ideal fixture for Alaves as they're looking to get their season back on track. Got good odds though, really. I mean, 1.6 is not like amazing, but for an away win for Atletico, that's a decent price just on a straight win. Junior, what's your take on this one? Do you think Atleti keep the momentum going?
I do, just for no other reason but the lack of goal threat coming from Alaves' side. Even the most formidable attacks in world football would struggle to break down Atleti. I think this side, first of all, other than De Tomas, forget about scoring goals. Nobody is even really getting quality opportunities other than De Tomas, and I just think that's a really big burden for a player who, I'm not going to say lack support, because again, it's so early in the season. We've seen teams start off the campaign, in terrible runs of form, and then kind of slowly pick up the pace as they figure out who they are. And I'm not saying Alaves will do that, but I'm not going to discount them so early in the season. I just am referring to this specific matchup. There's only one goal threat. Atleti seems equipped, or not seems, they're very much equipped to deal with the goal threat. Other than him, I don't see anybody that's going to provide them with any worries. And when Atleti can focus on going forward, they're a much more dangerous proposition. And on top of all of that, again, this price to me is just so appealing. Like you said, Martin, I feel like I'm getting this on the cheap. So I actually went for Atleti -1 because I do feel that they score at least 2 in this fixture.
Nice, I like it. Yeah, thanks, Junior. I'm going to go for Atleti and over 1.5 goals in this one. all four of their wins so far this season have been by a scoreline of 2-1, which is quite interesting when 1-0 was previously the favourite scoreline for Atleti, but displaying a little bit more ambition and maybe not quite as strong at the back this season. But I can also see them winning this by a couple of clear goals, just due to Alaves' poor form. Hey, Giovanni in the chat, he's saying Suarez anytime goal scorer at 2.6. That's plus 160. Does look like a good price. Barca man's going draw at half time. Atleti to win at full time. 4.1 there. Wow. Jeremiah thinks that Atleti are going to spice things up ahead of the Champions League. Maybe they will. Good afternoon, Ian. Great to see you. Great to have you here. Thanks everyone for joining us. Okay, next up we have got Valencia versus Athletic Club. Oh, going back to his former club, isn't he? This is going to be a fiery clash between a stubborn and disciplined Athletic side and Valencia, who are a much tougher prospect to face nowadays. Do you think this is going to be a tough battle, Junior? Do you think we're going to see a tense game in this one?
I do. I think we're going to see probably something like a 1-0. I could even see a 0-0 here. And one of the main reasons I'm doubting the lack of goal threat is something that we spoke about on the last episode, where Athletic Club are just not clinical at the moment. And I bet on them in the last match to be so, and again, they were not. And as far as Valencia, it's pretty obvious to me watching the last two games that without Soler in the lineup, they really lack someone as a focal point in terms of creating chances. They've got a lot of players with industry, a lot of players with talent, but they lack, without Soler, they lack that leader that looks to make the final pass, that killer ball. Guedes, I believe, in the last match had no attempts on goal at all for the amount of energy he expended. Pretty sure the same was the same with Maxi Lopez. And I think that the way that Bortelas sets up his teams is not the most attacking to begin with. So I would, if I were to be involved in this game, would probably be the under, or even I would go to try to predict the exact score is 0-0. I just didn't see a prop on that. If any of you guys have that available, I'm actually curious as to what that price is.
What's that? A correct score on 0-0 in this game?
Yeah.
I can have a look. Where we got here? We've got correct score. 0-0 is 41-5, which is that's about plus 800.
Yeah, plus 7 and change. That's not too bad. I'd be very interested in something like that.
Yeah, sounds good. It's tough, isn't it, with Athletic Club? They've got a great defence. They're very solid, but they've only scored 5 goals in 6 games so far. There's only so much you can do. You can't go out and buy like a great Ghanaian striker or you can't look anywhere. You can only look in the Basque region. So if they haven't got the players, there's nothing much they can do, is there? Do you think we're going to see a low scoring one in this as well, Brewery?
Yeah, I've gone for under 2.5 goals in this, because if we combine Junior's fine analysis there with your own and Athletics, sort of really solid defence, and you weigh it up against Valencia, who have been good, but struggling to create chances with quite the sort of prolific rate that they would like to. It's hard to see where the goals are coming from. And I had a wry smile when Nico Williams sort of played against Rayo, younger brother of Iñaki, of course, and was really, really good, but just not clinical, which is the problem which Iñaki also has. And I think Rayo, interestingly enough, probably showed the way to go about it against Athletic, and Jose Bordalas, I imagine, will take stock of that. But I'm not sure whether Valencia can break this team down. And so, yeah, it's going to be low scoring, 1-0, 1 or 1-1 for me in this one. And yeah, correct score bet on 0-0 is not a bad shout either. But yeah, it's hard to see where the goals are coming from in this. And two teams both smarting from defeats. And I think they'll be more keen not to lose this than they will be to win it in a sense.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty drab game that's not going to see a ton of goals. Perhaps not the best one to watch for a neutral fan, but an interesting tactical battle. Next up, we have Sevilla versus Espanyol, which does look like a more exciting game, I would venture. Sevilla still unbeaten so far this season. They've got the best defensive record in Spanish football. Only 2 goals conceded. They're not banging in goals like Real Madrid. They're not as entertaining, Rory, but they're getting the job done. They're getting the results. You can't argue with it. They're nearabouts in the title race. Do you think they can keep the momentum going against newly promoted Espanyol?
Yeah, I do, and I'm not hanging any onions here. This is a fairly straightforward win for Sevilla. For me, one phrase that I really liked that Graham Hunter used on the commentary for Sevilla Valencia was it. Sevilla looked like they found their personality, and there's certainly a little bit more swagger to Sevilla against Valencia, and they just looked like the sort of solid, efficient outfit that we're used to seeing. And perhaps they're not, full of goals like Real Madrid, but they get the job done, and that's the most sort of notable trait about the Sevilla side. And I can't see where Espanyol take the points from here. In every game so far, for me, they've almost been like the sidekick. Like they're never the protagonist, they're the other side of the story. And against Atleti they did reasonably well in the first half, but ultimately lost. Against Betis they were good, but it sort of told more of a story about Betis than it did about Espanyol. And I think I can't see where they take points here.
Yeah, I think the return of Ocampos is huge. When you've got Ocampos, Papu Gomez and Jean Jordan in the midfield, that's a lot of quality on the ball. There's a lot of creativity there, which perhaps explains why they were a bit more dangerous against Valencia. What do you think, Junior? Have you got anything on this one? Do you think Sevilla are going to win?
I absolutely do think they're going to win. I actually didn't make it an official play because Espanyol are very well organized at the back, and I do have some concern with some of the and again, this is my own recency bias. Some of the Sevilla games that I've watched this season, they're not creating enough chances for me. But what I like about their team more than anything else, and Rui mentioned they found their swagger defensively. They're so solid at the back. They aren't really giving their opponents too many clear-cut chances, and we know the quality that they have going forward. You mentioned Papu Gomez. I think Papu Gomez was pretty terrible, by his own standards anyway, in the first couple of matches. And once he runs into form, that just gives them another added weapon. Plus, they've got such a deep squad. I can't see anything other than a Sevilla win. I'm just a little bit nervous about, again, some of the lack of goal-scoring opportunities I saw in their first couple of games, and I'd like to see them do it for a few matches in a row before I pay, minus 160, which is 62, 63% chance of winning. They'll probably do it, but Espanyol have some fight in them, though.
Yeah, I am a little bit concerned about Espanyol's strong defensive record. I think they're going to be just fine this season. They look like a mid-table team, but I do think that at home, Sevilla's superior quality will see them get a win in this one. I've gone for Sevilla and under 4.5 goals. I've got minus 120 on that. I like that. Next up, we have league leaders Real Madrid, who are on fire. As I mentioned, 21 goals scored in 6 games. Real Madrid are coming up against Villarreal, the draw kings of Spanish football, who actually got their first win of the season last time out, which is very, very good for them. Junior, do you think this is going to give Villarreal a bit of confidence as they prepare to head to the Bernabeu?
I believe so. I've gone for Villarreal +1. Listen, Villarreal are not going to fear Real Madrid. They'll clearly respect them, but they have no reason to fear Real Madrid at all. And what actually spurred me to go ahead and make this an official play was that for once, finally, Villarreal was creating opportunities. They weren't scoring goals. They weren't getting results because they just simply were not creating enough quality chances in order to get those goals. Now, the 4 goals was down to the quality of their ranks because they didn't really create, that many opportunities. I think 4 was a bit generous to them. However, if Real Madrid allow them to get as many opportunities as Elche did, which I've seen nothing as good as Real Madrid look going forward, they still give their opponents quite a few chances to score. And I feel that Villarreal have the squad, have the finishers in their ranks to be able to pull a result here. So I've gone for Villarreal +1 because, call me a hater, Real Madrid is going to have to regress back to the mean at some point. They're not going to continue to bang in four or five goals a game, especially the way some of these goals are coming. Like I said, that's not to disparage them. Good on them. They're taking their opportunities, but they're going to have to regress back to the mean at some point. And I would, if I'm a betting man, which we happen to be, I'm going to bet that that's going to happen against a quality side like Villarreal.
Yeah, I've passed this game because I'm not confident in Real Madrid getting a win in this one. Villarreal are a very organised defensive team. We've seen them beat Man United in the Europa League final. They took Chelsea all the way in the Super Cup final. They're a team that can play well against the top teams, Rory. Do you think there's a chance that Villarreal can get a result in this one?
Definitely. I think it's a fascinating game. I've also passed on it because I'm just not quite sure how it's going to play out. If this was a fully fit Villarreal side, then maybe I think I'd lean more towards Junior's side and sort of maybe they could get a result here. But the absence of Yeremy Pino, the absence of Gerard Moreno, I think that will weigh heavy on them. I'm still not confident enough to call it as a Real Madrid win because, as you've both been saying, they need to regress to the mean a bit. I think it was a false image, in my opinion, against Mallorca because Mallorca were as poor as Real Madrid were good defensively. And this is also the sort of game that Unai Emery loves. It's a challenge. It's a big team coming to him. All the onus is on them. If he can organise his side, set them out and get them on the break, which they do have pace with Arnold Danjuma, and he sort of is starting to really influence this Villarreal side now. Yeah, I think there's a chance of this going either way, and I think it's a really good game to watch. Don't know if it's a good game to bet on for me, but
yeah. No, I agree with you there. What have we got in the chat? Ian's going for Real Madrid and both teams to score, as is Ronaldo. Jeremiah's going for Real and Real draw, double chance and over 1.5. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Barcelona thinks Casemiro is going to get a card at plus 175. Bit of love for Sevilla to win to 0. Sevilla and over 1.5 goals. Felix is on Atletico minus 1.5. Yeah, I think that looks good too. Next up, we have Mallorca at home up against Osasuna. This is going to be an interesting game. And who did I come to first? So we've got one. So I think it's we're going to come back to you first, Rory, because I think we're going head to head on this one. I've noticed that I've put down Mallorca, draw no bet, and I think you're going for Osasuna. Why are you going for Osasuna?
I believe that Osasuna weren't terrible against Real Betis when they lost yesterday on Thursday night. And I think it's a side that really needs to find its groove, but there is quality there. And they're the sort of side that don't make mistakes. They're a grown-up side, so to speak. They're not going to make any silly mistakes for me. They're going to be very adept at what they do, and they're convinced of what they need to do. Yago Barasate has been there a long time, and they're very well drilled, is what I want to say. Mallorca, on the other hand, although it was a false image, as I said, against Real Madrid, I think they're better than they showed, and Kanjin Lee was glorious, I think, against Real Madrid, and unfortunate that he was on such a heavy-sided defeat. But I do think it's harder than it maybe looks or seems just to drop a 6-1 defeat and then come back and win. And that's one thing that the sort of rhythm of a team and the morale that could maybe affect. That's where I've sort of gone for Osasuna. That's why I think they're coming out victorious.
Yeah, I am taking a risk here, backing a team that just lost 6-1. That really can dent your confidence, and it does make it difficult to get a result the following game. But if I take that as an anomaly, that defeat, they've only conceded 3 goals in their previous 5 matches, which makes me think these two are very similarly matched. They've both got identical records. They've both conceded the same amount of goals. Osasuna are a bit more dangerous going forward. But it's just the home advantage that swings it to me here for Mallorca. I'm going to be betting on Mallorca at home quite a lot this season because they do have a very, very strong home record, turn the stadium into a bit of a fortress, generally struggle on the road. So I think they can get a result here. I don't think you've got anything in this, Junior, but if you had to lean one way or the other, which way would you lean?
I would actually lean Osasuna. And the reason I would lean Osasuna is, first of all, I just like them. I like their team. I like what I see every time I watch them. I like teams that are not afraid to get stuck in. I really feel like in this specific league, that alone can get you a couple of results where you probably shouldn't get them. But I also think it's a situation. I think after a heavy defeat, like what we saw against Real Madrid, Mallorca is not gonna come home and park the bus. They're gonna come home and they're gonna try and nick a result. And Osasuna's counterattack, as far as I've seen this season, looks to be one of the more dangerous counterattacks in the league. And I think the way that Mallorca like to press super high, dare I say, there might be some tired legs with a game that just happened the other day and then another game this weekend. I don't like the situation for Mallorca. If gun to my head, it's Osasuna or nothing for me.
You're both talking me out of my. I'm gonna go for a small stake, just maybe a small little stake.
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's not an official pick, but like we say on the NBA show, we've got a little sprinkle on the draw here at plus 215.
Yeah, that's not bad. I wouldn't be too devastated by the draw. As I say, I've got Mallorca draw no bet at plus 100, which looks good to me. Hello, Dwayne. Dwayne Frank's in the house. Hello, Dr. Frank. Good to see you here. Hello from Slovakia. Hello, David. Hello in Slovakia there. Viewers from all over the world. We had viewers from Ghana, from South Africa, from Ireland, from Hong Kong, from everywhere in our Premier League show that we just did. And it's great to have you all here. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy what you see. The YouTube algorithm loves it. Mr. SBR, he loves it too. And it just elevates everything. Just makes more people sharing the love that we have on YouTube. So next up we have Barcelona versus Levante. Oh God, we could talk all day about Barcelona, couldn't we? It's like a slow motion car crash or something. What's going on there? Junior, what have you made of this general sort of meltdown and you called out Ronald Koeman for his comments last time, and he hasn't stopped running his mouth in the ensuing days. Do you think what's going on there? Do you think they can pull things back against Levante?
No, I don't. Listen, it's one of those situations where it's basically a house of cards right now. I can't. I've been saying this since before the first game of the season, before week one. I can't invest in this team with the amount of drama with this dark cloud surrounding the club. Listen, if you want to talk about their squad, from the moment I saw Brathwaite as a starter in week one. No offense to Brathwaite, this is Barcelona Football Club. That's a sign in itself. Now they're playing youth players again, which is not a bad thing. Obviously, they have some good youth players, but they're not playing the right ones at the moment. Although their backline, was okay in the last match. But it comes down to one fundamental thing. I probably sound like a broken record. If you're not going to create chances, I'm not investing in you whatsoever. And that last match was as bad as I've seen. I mean, they haven't looked this bad since the old, I might be dating myself here, but since the old, you remember that period between like when Rivaldo first went to Milan and before Ronaldinho came from PSG, they were just a very bang average side. They look as bad now as they did back then, which is a pretty long time ago. So it's dire straits for this club. There's no way that I can invest in them. I said that their body language looked awful against Bayern Munich. What did it look like in the last game? I mean, Jesus Christ. And by the way, Koeman, can you stop talking and just take the pressure off of the Dutch players in the squad? I feel like he's his bad press reflects badly on them. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but it's just bad all the way around. I want absolutely nothing to do with them, especially because Levante can always nick a goal against anybody. And if I see Barcelona go down 1-0, can anyone say they have confidence that they can overturn a deficit at this point? So it's just no all the way around for me.
No, they are players back in the time that you're mentioning, the Rivaldo era, before Ronaldinho came in and things got interesting and then Guardiola took over. They were in the wilderness for a while, but they were better then, I think, than they are now. Things are
probably
awful for them now. They really lacking quality. They've got a few decent players, but it's not looking good, Rory. And you need a manager that's going to show some belief at least and fire the troops up and say, yes, I believe in these players. A few key stars have left, but I've got a good group at my disposal. They're going to go out and give. He's just giving excuses before the match has even started, it seems. He's just like, well, we don't have any quick players. We can't take on the last defender. There's not much we can do. It's like he's throwing in the towel before the game's even started.
Yeah, and I think you're saying about giving them belief and giving them the confidence that they can do stuff, setting them up in the right way. Koeman looks like he's given up on this job, and I think everyone knows that he's going to get sacked. Koeman knows it, and he doesn't have either the energy or desire to continue pretending otherwise. And so, yeah, this game, as a result, could go anyway. It's Barcelona are a burning fire of sort of narrative and toxicity and political tension, and it's really disastrous for them. And for that reason, I don't think you can really call this game. I've passed on it because you just don't know what's going to happen. On the sort of positive side for them, they're playing Levante, who are also in dire straits, and they are not performing well either. Paco Lopez is really starting to feel some heat of his own, and Paco Lopez does have a very good record against Barcelona and Real Madrid, and that might come into play here, but he's seen two teams go very deep against Barcelona and get results. So does he try and sit back? Does he think, as he has previously, I can take on this Barcelona side. We have good players going forward. We can go toe-to-toe with them, and I don't doubt that they could. So it'll be really interesting to see how Paco Lopez goes about it. But in terms of calling it, it's very difficult. One ever so slight chink of light in the Barcelona sort of Armageddon is Ansu Fati might return off the bench in this game, and he does have pace and the ability to go past people. It's a lot of hope to put on him, given he's been out so long, that he might be a match winner of sorts. But one thing that really stood out, I think, to a lot of people in Spain was the fact that after the Cadiz match, Ronald Koeman had said, we will do well to finish at the sort of top of the table or towards the high end of the table. And Sergio Roberto comes out after that saying, we have to fight for the league. We have a good enough squad to do it. Piqué also said in his presser that I don't wear this Barcelona shirt to come fourth. And so that shows you the disconnect between the two parties, and it's a recipe for disaster again.
Yeah. Well,
Can I say something? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go. Sure.
What I wanted to just touch on something that Rory just said. To me, Ansu Fati is a bit of a symbol of the disconnect between what's happening now and reality. And this is what I mean by that. Why would you hand an 18-year-old kid the number 10 jersey a couple of weeks after perhaps the greatest player to ever lace up boots walks away? Why put that pressure on Fati at all? Maybe I'm just I'm overthinking this, but doesn't that seem like a heavy burden to carry?
Yeah, very heavy. There's no way that he deserves to really be wearing that shirt. I mean, he's a fantastic young talent.
He has a talent.
His potential is vast, but you need to prove that they're almost like the contribution that Messi's made. You're almost talking about retiring that number 10 shirt, not giving it to Ansu Fati like the day after he's gone out the door.
And just think about the last 3 to 4 number 10s in Barcelona. Like, just give the kid a second to, find his own way before you throw that burden on him. I just think to me, it's just another example of how they're just a bit all over the place right now.
Yeah, they're a really difficult team to call for me because they still have a few decent players. They've still got Frankie. Oh no, Frankie de Jong's going to be suspended, isn't he? But they've got they've got no good players. Okay, they're terrible. But but they are unbeaten still this season. But at the price, they're like minus 220, and they're coming up against the Levante team that, yes, they're in dire straits, but they've only lost 2 out of 6 matches, and they're a reasonably talented team. So I would never be betting on Barcelona at those sort of odds. Easy pass, easy pass. I think we move on. We move on to Rayo Vallecano, who I know Barcelona are the story of the season in lots of ways, but Rayo, for much more positive reasons, should be getting a lot of headlines too. Rayo versus Cadiz, that is, Esteban. If you're happy to bring up the fabulous graphics that we have at SBR nowadays, Rayo versus Cadiz. Do we think Rayo can keep their form going? Rory, do you think they can keep it going?
Yeah, I do. I'm not confident enough to say out and out this will be a win, but if you pushed me and put a knife to my throat, then I would say Rayo, because they've looked very good, and I thought I mentioned earlier that they did very well playing through the Bilbao press and going up to Athletic and doing a good job against them. Against Cadiz, they're similarly organised side that at moments will press you, will probably sit deep more often than not, but Rayo so far, every game they've come up with answers, and maybe they haven't won every game. I think the opening game against Sevilla was a bit of a write-off. They went down to 10 men and after about 5-10 minutes. But apart from that, in every game they've come up with answers. And if you factor in that Falcao will probably get a few more minutes because he's only played 15 minutes in the first sort of 2 appearances he's had, then you have the opportunity to, I think, break this Cadiz side down. Cadiz will probably be a little more ambitious than they were against Barcelona. And Barcelona, I mean, yeah, despite the dumpster fire and the general sort of sapping performance that they put in the first half, Memphis still missed 2 absolute sitters in that game. And so if you give Falcao those chances, he's going to put them away.
Yeah, I can't wait to see if Falcao can keep this going over the course of the season. That would be a great story. Shout out to Ronaldo in Jamaica. And Tim is watching on from Kenya. And Felix is in Costa Rica. So's Esteban. Team SBR's in Costa Rica. So it's great to have our viewers all over the world. Junior, do you think Rayo? Are you leaning towards Rayo for this game?
Yeah, for sure. I think a draw is probably a more likely result. I do have some fear over Cadiz, and this comes from money that they've cost me this season. But Cadiz, listen, for example, just let's start with this Barcelona match. If from a neutral's perspective, Cadiz seemed like they were more likely to win that game than Barcelona, in my opinion. They had some really, really quality chances. They seem like an organized side, but it's hard to ignore what you're saying. Rayo are the story of La Liga. They finished 6th in the Segunda last year, so they were quite lucky to overturn that playoff and even get into the first division. They looked quite poor in their first 2 games. But since then, even in that draw they had with Levante, to me, they were the much better side, and they were actually quite unlucky to get a draw. So they should be looking at, 3-4 wins on the trot right now. It's for that reason I kind of just stayed away, because I do have some PTSD from Cadiz scoring these 97-minute goals. They've had more than 1 goal in the 95th minute, I'm sure, this season. They scare me just a tad. So I'm staying away. I feel like I missed the boat on the cheap prices available for Rayo. Now I have to lay points with them? No, thank you.
Me too. Copy and paste. I'm exactly the same. That's why I'm passing this game. Next up, we have Real Sociedad, or Real Sociedad, as we sometimes call them. They are coming up against big team. Well, not a big team, really, are they? Elche. I think this is a game that Real Sociedad can go and win. What do you think, Junior? Were you deterred by the odds that are available on Sociedad for this game?
Yeah, literally the thing that kept me away. I think this is a clear Sociedad win. I think Sociedad, even though they were getting results in the first few weeks, they weren't playing their best football. It all seems to kind of be coming together at the right time for them. Their best players are playing as such. So yes, I would lean heavily Real Sociedad, just not at this price. I feel like, especially in this part of the season, it is way too early for me to be laying anything other than -150, other than basically the sides that you expect to be in European football. So Sociedad might very well be one of those sides. I still need to see more because if anything, I don't want to disrespect Elche. Obviously, Elche is, not considered a big side, but they played decent. The biggest compliment I can pay to them is that they're extremely organized. The result against Villarreal, I don't hold that against them too much, just because Villarreal was bound to convert on the opportunities that they create after 5-6 weeks of futility. I think that Elche is closer to the team that we've seen that holds their opponents to 0 or 1. Unfortunately, they don't create the most chances themselves, but I think that Real Sociedad is going to have a really hard time getting more than 1 goal in this tie.
Yeah, I love Real Sociedad. I normally bet on them. They're flying high in 3rd place, 4 wins from 6 games. But I've also passed this one because I couldn't find a way to get value on it. But you've got a take on it, Rory. You've got something on this one. What are you going for?
Yeah, I've tried to boost those odds a little by putting them to win to 0. I think Elche, as much as they've scored in their last 4 games, but then I did a bit more investigation, and then I looked at the goals that they'd scored, and that one against Villarreal, Mojica thumps one in from about 25 yards out, and it was a great goal. And if you go back and look at their goals, there wasn't a consistent pattern. Lucas Perez against Levante, kind of a fluky goal, deflects off about 3 people and into his path. So I don't think they're in the goal-scoring form of their life and creating a lot of opportunities. And then if I look back at Real Sociedad, yeah, they have a lot of injuries. They're into nearly double figures now, and that's bound to affect them. And you could make an argument for Elche getting a point here, but I think the thing that's really, really impressed me about Alguacil and Real Sociedad is the way that youngsters have just come in, slotted in without any fuss at all. And you've barely even noticed it. It's as if they are seasoned pros, and credit really has to go to them for that. I think they're in a good moment, as they say in Spain. They're playing well. I think they're confident, and the likes of Mikel Merino just give you that extra little bit of quality that they need to get over the line in this one for me.
Yeah, good to see Lucas Perez still going. Couldn't quite make the grade at Arsenal, but he's still hanging in there.
Still knocking around.
Still knocking around at the ripe old age of 33. Bless him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he'll be leading them to victory in this game. He's not a prolific striker, sadly. Okay, next up we have Real Betis coming up against Getafe. We've been riding the Real Betis train, and it has been a profitable train to be riding. Had them in La Liga, winning games for us. Had them in the Europa League as well. They beat Celtic, got the job done there. We like to see that. Rory, do you think they can keep it going against the awful Getafe team that are winless, pointless from 6 games?
Yeah, I do. I think Real Betis have to be strong favourites for this. They really impressed me more than I thought, and I think they will have a slowing down process as Europa League really starts to gather pace. But yeah, I can't praise Pellegrini enough, because he started that game against Osasuna with Edgar and Quique Hermoso as the centre halves, and nobody had much idea about not only who they were, but nobody really expected them to be up to the level to be playing in La Liga. So full credit to Pellegrini for setting up a side that can survive with those two at centre back. And Willian Jose converts a really nice chip towards the end of that game. And Canales only seems to be playing 60 minutes, but they seem to be enough to more or less win Betis the game every time. And sometimes he'll come off and they'll throw it away, but generally that seems to be enough. On Getafe's side, just the emotional blow of losing that Atleti game so late, when for me, their best performance of the season by a mile, and they couldn't make it. They shot themselves in the foot again, and I think morale and fatigue will have to really set in here and drag them down to a loss again for me.
Yeah, let's put some respect on Pellegrini's name. He's a very good manager still. I know his teams have never been that solid defensively, but he can get teams playing some beautiful football. He's a Premier League title winner. He's got a pretty damn good record in Spanish soccer. I think he can lead this Betis team to victory against Getafe. You haven't gone for this one, Junior. Do you just not fancy Betis in this one?
No, I think I bet on them too often. I go to the well way too much with Betis, and I just kind of I'll be a little bit more honest than I should be. This price makes me extremely suspicious. I feel like there's some information that I'm missing. How can this price be so cheap? What is it about Getafe that leads anyone to believe that they're going to go and nick a result here? So yeah, I'll probably get involved in it before the match kicks off, because again, this looks like I'm passing up on the sale, which I never do. But I'm just inherently suspicious of this line. One thing you guys did say about Pellegrini that I think hurts him, I don't know if hurts him is the right word. I feel like all the other top managers do have a media presence that he just lacks. I feel like Pellegrini I don't even really know what Pellegrini's voice sounds like, if I'm going to be honest. He rarely says more than he has to. Even when they won the title in Man City, I remember during the post-game celebrations, of course, obviously it's a language barrier thing, but he was the most understated winning manager that I've probably ever seen. So I just think it's part of his personality to just keep his mouth shut, put his head down, and get the job done, which I think leads people to underestimate his quality.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think that's what I like about him. He seems like a nice, understated, humble man who has achieved a lot in the game. And yeah, that is perhaps why he doesn't get some of the respect that he deserves. But he's doing a good job at Betis, and I think they can keep with. I got minus.
What was he? Sorry, I was going to say, was he not the manager of Villarreal when they lost to Arsenal in the Champions League semifinal?
Yeah, he was.
So, and that was, and really, no disrespect, Martin. How many times has Riquelme missing a penalty to allow you guys to go to the final? So he's quite unlucky there.
I was jumping up and down. I was hotel room somewhere. I think they called up. They were like, "What's going on up there?"
I feel like Pellegrini is always on the wrong end of sort of misfortune, because he took over Real Madrid, 98 points or something, and came up against treble-winning Barcelona. I mean, what a chance he's got sacked after a season.
So tough. That was so tough. Yeah, if he was at Real Madrid now, he could probably lead them to the title. But yeah, I got minus 112 on Betis yesterday, which was amazing. They've gone down to minus 125 now. So if you agree, I think you should probably get on Betis sooner rather than later, because the odds are dropping. Okay, final game, Celta de Vigo versus Granada. Interesting game to end the season, to end the round of fixtures with. Neither team has really set the world alight thus far. Granada languishing in the relegation zone with 0 wins from 6 matches. Celta Vigo only 1 point above them. They've been poor defensively. Who do you think comes out on top in this one, Junior, seeing as both teams have been so bad so far?
Yeah, Celta do probably win, especially because Granada, like I mentioned last week, has got to be the worst defense in the division. I am just not willing to lay minus 150 against a side that doesn't pick up results regularly. They looked good in their last match. Can I see it twice before I pay this price? So it's just a matter of not making the mistakes that I used to make as a young man by blindly looking at a game on paper and saying, "Oh well, this side is clearly better than the other. I'm going to bet it." Not at this price, sir. So it's really the price that's keeping me off. But I do, if Celta have any hopes of turning their season around, these are the games that they have to win without question. They should be able to win these convincingly. But Granada do have a goal threat. They have a few goal threats. And the way that Celta's backline looks, I cannot possibly pay this price in this situation.
No, I mean, Granada do now actually have the joint worst defensive record in La Liga. So, yeah, I think we can safely say that their defence is terrible. Celta got back to winning ways last time out, Rory. They beat Levante 2-0. Iago Aspas among the goals. Do you think they can win this one?
They're just too flaky for me. You can plan the nicest Monday evening for them. You can have the team with the worst defence coming up against them, lacking confidence and at home, but you just can't rely on them. You don't know. They have the tendency to shoot themselves in the foot so much that I'm going to leave this one well alone. And Granada, I will say about Robert Moreno, the manager, he does seem to lack a bit of charisma, and he seems to almost have a bee in his bonnet about how much Granada fans love their previous manager, Diego Martinez, because he was commenting about that after the game in midweek and saying that he's gone, I'm here. He went of his own volition, and they've contracted me to do the job. And it's really starting to sort of turn the wheels in the direction of a slide down the table. So, but as Junior says, they do have an attacking threat. They do have good players going forward, and the Celta defence can leak goals to anyone. And so you just don't know what's happening in this game for me. I can't put money on this one.
Yeah, what's going on with Diego Martinez? What's he doing? Why do you think he'd take the Barcelona job?
I think he'd maybe it's below his stature these days, but like
for something better. Yeah.
I think he is waiting for something better to come along, not necessarily in Barcelona, but he was offered the Valencia job seemingly in the summer and decided that wasn't to his liking. So I think he's done incredible work at Granada and is waiting for sort of the perfect project to come along and pick him up.
Maybe Arsenal Football Club if things go wrong with Mikel Arteta. Who knows? Okay, we will wrap that one up there. And Esteban, could you please give us the picks? We'll read out to our lovely viewers what we're going for. So I'm going for Atletico to win and over 1.5 goals at plus 105. Mallorca, draw no bet, even money, plus 100. I've got Sevilla and under 4.5 goals at minus 120. And I've put down that Mallorca draw no bet again there. That's supposed to be the copy and paste error there. That's supposed to say Real Betis to win at minus 112. So Real Betis to win minus 112 is my final tip. Rory, what are you going for?
Yeah, as you said, I've disagreed with you about Osasuna, and hopefully I'll be back soon to laud my victory over you, but we'll see about that. Sevilla, I think, are beating Espanyol, and I think there's going to be a couple goals in it. I don't think it's going to be 1-0. Valencia, Bilbao, in contrast, there's no goals in that one. I don't see either team giving up much ground to the other team. And Real Sociedad, who are beating Elche to 0 in my book, I think they are the better team, and they will prove so.
Nice, and some good odds there. Junior, what are your two picks?
Yeah, I'm a lean week this week. Didn't want to force any plays. Atletico, I have them winning again. Alaves just does not provide a goal threat that I think can trouble Atletico. And I feel like the market is overvaluing Real Madrid a little bit. Villarreal are available at plus 500 to win on the money line. I'm not going to be that bold because I don't want to pretend that Real Madrid don't have the quality to keep getting wins. But Villarreal has quality as well. And they, I believe, at least in their own minds, have no reason to fear Real Madrid, and they'll come there looking to make a result. So I think +1 is good value.
Brilliant. Thanks, Junior. Thank you, Esteban. Okay. That concludes our rundown of the latest round of fixtures in La Liga. Thank you very much for joining me, Junior and Rory. Been great to have you on the show. Thanks to everyone in the chat. It's been lots of great tips coming in from everyone on the chat. So if you're watching it back, check out what everyone's going for. Barca Man's very prolific, got tips on everything. Okay, when you are leaving, please give us a thumbs up on your way out. Subscribe to the channel, click on that notification bell, and head on over to sportsbookreview.com after this. Hope you all have a great weekend full of lots of winners, and we look forward to seeing you back here next week. Goodbye.